My name is A.G. Kawamura. I'm a farmer here in Orange County, and I'm here at the California Higher Education Sustainability Conference. And I was asked to talk about today in the keynote about sustainability with our food systems, with water, with energy. The idea that the year 2050 is not that far away, and that if we all work together and embrace, for example, the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations, we all have a part to play in making those a reality. And they've asked the world to actually achieve those by the year 2030. It's only 14 years away, and that means we have a lot of work to do. And those of us who are in the agricultural sector, we know that we're a large part of what those Sustainable Development Goals mean and how they will be successful. So in other words, if agriculture is not thriving in these decades ahead of us, it's going to be very difficult to achieve those Sustainable Development Goals. So that's part of why I'm here today, is to share that thinking that we all need to work together and collaboratively.
Thank you so much. And what do you do as part of this in your company?
Our company is one of the older farming companies still here in Orange County, and we farm on rented property, leased property, on whether it's on the military, under the power lines, whether it's on vacant lots that are owned by property owners, or at the city-owned Great Park. We farm out at the Orange County Great Park, which is a really incredible project that the city of Irvine has put into play. And at that site, the former El Toro Marine Base, we've repurposed a lot of land, and we're producing some wonderful crops, both conventional and organic, out there in that area. It's an exciting time because we have a tremendous toolbox to work with to be able to repurpose and redirect these resources towards some really good ends, which include, for example, the incredible edible farm, where we're custom growing food for the food bank. So please do come out and visit. We've got a lot of neat things to show you, and it is the 21st century, and we are creating a platform for 21st century agriculture out there.
That's great. Thank you so much. How do you do the organic part of the agriculture? What do you have, and you have any suggestions how to grow organically? Is it hard? Is it hard that like people say, or how can you achieve that?
Organic principles start really with a good soil base, and if you have really good soil, it makes it a lot easier. But the idea that you can build vibrant, living soil, whether you're conventional or an organic grower, is part of the key. If you have good water to start with, that's important. If the water's got salt problems, you have to address the salt problems, because you don't want to add salt to it. So creating a farm where you embrace organic principles might not mean that you're an certified organic producer. It might mean you're a conventional producer, but the idea that you embrace sustainable practices in your soil, and the number one part of that is you're building your soil. You want better soil after each crop, not worse soil. You want to establish a balance within your beneficial insect community, if you can, which allows you not to get threatened by an invasion of a insect plague that will knock out your crop or require you to use a tougher kind of pesticide. Everybody seems to forget that there's things that want to eat you or your crops or your pets, or nothing's changed in the history of the planet. So as we produce crops, we're trying to stay in balance. We're trying to use the knowledge base and the tools, if you will, that we have to make a better result. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. We want a more predictable result, which means a good harvest.
Oh, thank you so much. I didn't never thought about it. And what is your address, and how can we come and see your plantation or the?
Just come out to the Orange County Great Park. Come to the Farm and Food Lab, or the Incredible Edible Farm. You can look at Second Harvest Food Bank. They have a great website. You could look at our Orange County Produce website. But there's a lot of opportunity, but it's out there at the Orange County Great Park, and ask for the ag sector.
Thank
you. Turning ideas into action. And we at Cal State Fullerton, we are indeed turning ideas into actions. We have, in fact, one example I would like to share with you is our very successful program where we partner with the academics, facilities operations, and our students. And we developed a co-curricular program using the campus as a forum for the exploration of sustainability concepts and theories. And one of the nice thing about this program is that one of our strategic initiatives on campus is about student success. How do we improve their graduation rates? How do we improve their experience here on campus? And this kind of programs fit right in with what we call high impact practices. And so it melds really well with our strategic goal as well. And the results have been tremendously successful. In the last 12 months, we've had 12 faculty partners, 6 colleges are involved, and we had over 250 students just this past year alone. So we're very proud of the actions that we take to be a responsible citizen, not only in California, but certainly at the national level. We've also done a lot of work outside of the classroom experience, and so, for example, we're developing 5 megawatts of solar powered, which would double our current capacity. I know everyone's doing the LED lighting projects, and so our campus is no different. We've just completed campus-wide LED lighting project that would save hundreds of thousands of dollars annually in utility costs and reduce our carbon emissions by 2.3 million carbon tons per year. So these are some of the examples that we are doing by taking our ideas into action. So with that said, I hope you have the opportunity to tour the campus and observe some of our accomplishments here on this campus. I do understand it's going to be super hot. I just flew back from Denver, Colorado, and it's no cooler mile high up there either. So just enjoy the weather as much as you can. And I hope you enjoy the conference and have a wonderful rest of the week.
You might address your own household needs, your own community needs, your own regional needs, and you start to see things changing. I mean, there was an article just the other day about growing quinoa in Dubai out in the desert. That's an interesting proposition, but it's a high protein grain that has evidently very drought tolerant characteristics. And so as you start to, we're a very small world when it really comes down to it, and the explosion of knowledge, not technology necessarily, but just knowledge systems. A lot of it is old knowledge. This idea, I was fortunate to be down in Lima the other day, and the Andes have one of the most successful, the Incas had one of the most successful agricultural systems anywhere on the planet in the last 5,000 years, I would venture to say. They understood nature, they understood what their limitations were, and yet they were able to develop and build along those lines a vibrant and, more importantly, a sustainable, predictable system that could last centuries. We're being asked to do the same, so that's, I think, scalability is more easily done today than it's ever done. Any other questions? And I'm waiting for it. Go ahead. Sure. In my own company right now, we farm in we've been farming in this Orange County, Southern California area for all my lifetime. We were farming in the San Juan Capistrano watershed 2 years ago as we entered into year 3 of the drought, and our well went dry there. The next year it didn't rain enough to replenish the well enough, and so we were reduced. Instead of growing 60 acres, we had 8 acres, and this last year, without any more rain, we've quit farming there. If it had been our only farming operation, we'd be out of business. There just wasn't any water, and we didn't have a plan B. Jump a couple watersheds forward, I farm over here in the Seal Beach area, and there's saltwater intrusion starting to take place on some of the wells that we have. We've actually shut down a well because without the drought, there's no replenishment of water at the upper levels, and we're finding ourselves struggling there. Interestingly, here in the middle, I farm on the San Diego Creek in the Irvine Ranch Water District area in Irvine. And because that water, the bulk of the water we use is reclaimed water, and it's reclaimed out of the system coming out of both both the natural system here in the basin here, as well as the Colorado River, as well as sometimes some of the state water systems. That reclaimed water is cleaned up. The salts are less than the saltwater intrusion problem we have north of there, and all the way up the coast where you have enormous problems with aquifer depletion and salt starting to show up. So I'm just laying this out as what it looks like here going into year 5 in Southern California. Northern California got a little bit better water this year. But the future looks pretty tough, except for those areas that have a Plan B and a Plan C in place. In Orange County, we're blessed to have one of the most progressive water systems anywhere in the world that does a tremendous job of replenishing aquifers, reclaiming water, not letting much water go out to the ocean when we can grab it. In other words, you take that big gulp when you can, you hold it back in our Santa Ana River watershed. And so as a result of that, we have water. We're asked for conservation. We're asking everybody to scale back where they can, because this could go on for decades. But we ask that today, if we understand that our limitations are the ones that we have because of the infrastructure we have or don't have. We've got a lot of water. It's in the atmosphere, it's in the ocean. We have a salt problem with the water in the ocean. We have a perception problem sometimes with reclaimed water that may very soon be potable reclaimed water that we use and drink. The ability to clean things up is, again, the technologies that we have are amazing. How agriculture fits into that, I think, is something that's made me uneasy, is because when people start to say, maybe we shouldn't have almonds, or maybe we shouldn't have XYZ alfalfa for dairy cows, it bothers me because we have never really made a list of hierarchy of water use and water needs. You would ask that question, well, that's all of our pets that we have eat a lot of meat, eat a lot of food, drink a lot of water, make a lot of waste. A Great Dane compared to a Chihuahua, I'm sorry if you have a Great Dane owners out there, Chihuahua owners, maybe we should all have Chihuahuas because it'd be a little more conservative, you know? Or anybody that raises horses these days, we don't consume horses anymore, so horses are a really nice, wonderful, incredible animal, but they eat a lot of hay and they take a lot of space and they use a lot of water, and they're nice to have, but in that list of hierarchies, which one would we rather have if we were living in a world of scarcity? We want to be in a world of abundance. The minute we move into a world of scarcity, we move from being in a state of living to a state of survival. And the worse the scarcity, the more stable the state of survival. There's a lot of countries on the planet right now that are right on that bubble of survival and living, and there's a lot of them that are in a clear, horrible survival state. So our indulgence in having abundance and saying that I like this system of agriculture better than that, or I like this kind of science and that kind of science is no good, it's a nice indulgence that we have, and when we talk about water then, it's a similar indulgence. If you have choices, that's the better option. When we don't have choices, then we start to see governments, people, the opinions start to play in on what we think is the right thing to have. And what's kind of confusing is when we have so much abundance, we get just as many opinions in the form of politics playing out that we should do this, and eliminate this, and this. But it's because we can, and it's because we still walk into that store and there's so many choices in the grocery store. Other questions? Right here.
I'm curious if you've had experience with application of compost in your fields and your thoughts about the carbon sequestration opportunities of doing that?
You know, when you look at compost, it's organic matter. So organic matter can be from whole food waste that's collected, and then you can pull the water out and compost that, break it down back into nutrient forms. Green waste, whether it's curbside, all your lawn clippings and landscape stuff along the in your yards, whether it's tree waste above, basically from the stump up, all the tree waste that comes from trimmings and those things, and whether it's manure or whether it's human sewer that can be turned back into a compost and broken down. All of those are forms of carbon. There's an exciting point that we're going to reach very soon. It might be 2030, I would say by 2050, this idea that we have waste on our planet, I'm going to say we won't have waste, because we'll realize that all the things we're throwing away for all these centuries, in some places we weren't throwing away. In many societies, human waste was the #1 form of fertilizer for so many years, night soil, right? This idea that taking our carbon cycles and being more resilient with them and more thinking about what we want with them is a great part of where we're headed. Bioplastics that will break down. We've got all these tools now, so much more in place than we did even then 10 or 20, 30 years ago in my lifetime. I'm turning 60 this year, and it's remarkable what tools we have now and are getting better all the time to address some of these ideas. So compost is the only way, and putting carbon back in the soil is the only way you restore soil health and maintain its vigor and create a biome, if you will, a biology that allows plants to thrive. There's this wonderful saying that you feed the soil to feed the plant, and many of us believe very strongly that's the only way to move forward, because otherwise you're depleting things, you're mining stuff out, and if you're not replacing it, you're just going in a downhill slide. So on all areas, if you can compost, on all areas, these different products can be brought in. There's a little stigma for some of them, and more importantly, there's also a lot of need for, I guess you'd call it control, so you know what you're getting in that batch that you're ready to put back on your soil. If it has high salts in it, you can be actually turning your soil into a more negative situation. But it really becomes about where's the product coming from. So, I still don't see the hook. Question up there, yes?
You had a number of slides about converting land, urban golf courses, areas to agriculture. I'm wondering what you do about potential toxins, metals, and pesticides in the soil. How do you address that?
Well, let's talk about pesticides first. You have an entire world and nation that has come through the 40s, especially the 50s, 60s, 70s, and has used a lot of the different chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides over that period of time. It's gotten us to here. Every single one of those that have proven to be really bad for the environment or very enormously dangerous. I can't say every single one of them, but there's been an absolute movement away from all those products to give us new products that still are effective, whether it's in the form of nutrients for fertilizer or medicine for the plant or things to take out the insect population that might be attacking your plants. That continues to get better and better. I do both conventional and organic production, certified organic production. And the tools we have to work with today are so much better than they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's amazing how many better products, newer products come out. In terms of the contamination that might be in the soil, I'll always say the dose is the danger, and we live in a world where whether you're filling up your gas tank and you smell fumes, those aren't parts per trillion, those aren't parts per billion, or whether you're just driving around and you can't see the mountains on a given day, those aren't parts per trillion, those aren't parts per billion. And the same thing then takes place, what kind of parts are we dealing with in the soil from legacy pesticide use throughout Orange County, let's say, or the San Joaquin Valley, or any other place that has had agriculture during the 60s, 70s, 80s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, and before. You have to take your test. You have to understand what's in the soil. You have to understand the dose being the danger is, are you at a place where you have challenges? When we got out to the Great Park, we were well aware that, okay, there's a Superfund cleanup for those places where the military was dumping. The military, unfortunately, was very, very guilty. This is all over the world of not paying attention, but this is society in general, not paying attention to the ecology of their actions. And they had dumps. We have dumps. We have public dumps. We have places where people would just throw things, and if it wasn't the ocean or the rivers, it was certainly in landfills. And so at the Great Park is a good example. There's definitely places that are designated and they're fenced off and they're part of the Superfund cleanup. When we showed up, we knew that we had soil tests and water tests from both although we can't use any of the water on that side because the water in that area does have a contamination level that's down deep in the aquifer. And so that water has a cleanup system that they're intercepting that water, cleaning it up, and putting it back in and injecting it back into the aquifer. As far as the land goes, we were given tests both from the city and from the military, and we didn't really
feel comfortable with either test. They look good, and so we chose to take our own tests. And what we found is on our site is these are areas that hadn't been farmed for 70 years, and we felt very, very positive that we discovered some great sites to farm on, because everywhere else in the state or in the country, you have the potential for legacy chemicals to be, might be DDT, for example, are very trace elements, but they exist and you can find them now that we can go out to parts per trillion. And so when people say, oh my God, everything's contaminated, oh my God, everything is contaminated, it's not that it's not. There's different contamination levels from smog coming over from China. You can find the challenges. You have to hope that your immune system is tough. You have to hope that we build resilience within our bodies as we address some of these challenges we have from a society and a world that has used these things to get us to this point today. The point is, from here forward, how much more can we do to start to clean up? How much more can we do to find more sustainable products? How much more can we do to be well aware that the hype, those folks that want to peddle fear, just understand who's peddling the fear and who's not drinking the water, who's eating food and who's not. People always ask me, would I rather eat organic food or conventional food? And the first question I'll ask back is, well, when was it harvested? I want something that was harvested today, an hour ago, a minute ago, and be able to eat it before I put something in that's 10 days, 15 days, 20 days old that has an organic label on it. I mean, the idea that you want nutrient-dense products with high life form still in the thing that you're eating is great. Processing is something that we do. We can't store everything, we can't eat everything fresh, so we have different ways of storing things. Flash freezing, who would have thought that flash freezing actually is usually more nutritive. It captures nutrients and keeps product in. So I'm wandering a little bit here, but I'll go back to this idea of where does contamination come from, how do we address it? We have to address it every day, whether it's the water you're drinking, whether it's the playground you're in, whether it's the products that are in your home, whether it's the carpet, whether it's what was lead in your paint on your walls, whether it was the pencils you were drawing with and erasing with as elementary school kids. No one's sitting there saying that we haven't made mistakes as a world, as a society, in trying to move society forward, move this planet forward. What we have is knowledge bases to mitigate, to change, to adapt different ways of doing things. And you see that in place everywhere you look. It's an exciting point that if we anticipate we have 9 billion people on the planet, that's a hell of a lot better than going from 7 to 4. We don't want to see, and this goes back to this idea of abundance, whether it's abundance of food, abundance of water, abundance of energy, abundance of good ideas, abundance of better technology that's sustainable. This is the wave, if you will, the renaissance that we're trying to push ourselves towards. And eyes open, though, that the challenges of the past are with us in many ways, and we have to live with them, but we have to also see where we can mitigate them. The one other thing about a lot of the products that are in the soil, organic activity, biological activity, activation can actually neutralize an enormous amount of those products. Heavy metals, it's a little different story, right? And I don't have that science background, but I know enough to be dangerous or enough to be trusted. And that's basically where I am right now. I hope that answers that a little bit. Any other question right here?
I was going to ask, what are your thoughts on young people getting involved in farming and growing, the challenges and barriers that they have?
I think there's tremendous challenges, tremendous opportunities. The first one on the challenge is the cost of labor. If you're by yourself and you're a one-man show, you know the measure of what your labor can do and what the limits of your body are on a given day, on a given week, day after day, week after week, if you're doing a one-man show agricultural system. But more importantly, you know that you also wear a lot of different hats. It's funny, the word for farmer in Japanese is hyakusho. It comes from the word hyaku, and show is a man, so it's 100 is hyaku. So the literal translation for a farmer in Japanese, ancient translation, was a man of 100 talents. And it's true, if you're a one-man, two-man, five-man, 10-man show in a really progressive, aggressive, high production urban farm, you have a lot of work that you're doing. You're marketing, you're doing the regulatory system, you're paying attention to both local, state, and federal laws. You're making sure that you have now making sure that there's a food safety issues. So it's a challenge. I would tell you right now that the regulatory system is putting a lot of the middle-sized farmers out of business. Our regulatory burdens, the challenges, because it's just so hard to put into play these things at certain scales. The bigger you are, the more you're able to offset some of these new costs of doing business. And the smaller you are, the more chance you have of at least managing your own production, to manage your own ability to deal with your marketing and stuff with at least hopefully a little bit of return because you're direct sales to the consumer. So that question was how hard is it or how difficult is it for regional producers or local farmers to be in business these days? I don't think it's ever been harder, but I don't also think there's never been more opportunity because there's more, I see more support. If those chain stores, if those restaurants, if those cafeterias, if those food service enterprises would really embrace the local grown and share their margins to make sure that their suppliers, their farmers, can stay in business. And that becomes a handshake and a partnership with the society in an area. And so Grow Riverside or this Conference of Grow Orange County, which is coming up, putting pressure on the retailers, the guys that have the capacity where the markup is and doesn't necessarily get back to the farmer, is a really important part of the dialogue. And I see there's tremendous improvement there, but at the same time there's tremendous hypocrisy sometimes where they just treat you, sometimes some of the local or some regional buyers or some of those, you're just kind of a replaceable supplier if the price isn't right. And so that's where there's a lot of angst, but I think in this dialogue that we're having, there's great opportunity because I see it, and we all know some friends, some of our friends, some of the operators that are actually doing incredibly well with a regional production system that works, and there are different ones too. It's not one size fits all. Yes, in the back there.
So I'm just going to say this is probably our last question, so we're going to have to wrap up with this one.
There you go. Reining in climate change is an enormous challenge. For those of us who have to grow and see the seasonal temperatures changing, see unexpected weather patterns that we haven't seen before, experiencing collapses of our systems, either through resources in water would be a good example, or not enough chill hours. All of those things then put pressure back on the university systems and the research systems that we have, we're blessed with in this country, especially with land-grant systems, but all the private and public research institutes that can bring then resources to start to anticipate and work on the problems that we're seeing. This idea that that our regional food systems can replace the larger scale systems that really feed a planet. You just need to do the little research to see the logistical challenges of how many calories. The best way is 9 billion people on the planet eating, let's say, 2 meals a day, 1,600, 1,400 calories a day, and translate that to actual pounds of production of food that has to get produced, delivered, and spread out over the planet. That exercise is what global food production has to meet every day. We have the capacity right now to feed everybody on the planet, but we don't choose to do it. By the year 2050, with 2 billion more people, I think many people do believe, a lot of people don't, but many people do believe we'll still have the capacity to feed everybody on the planet a really good diet, but will we have the will to do it? And that's going back to my opening comments about the Sustainable Development Goals. The part of what we're doing is readjusting why we do things, how we do things, because if we do that, then we can actually have better results, including eliminating waste, which frees up a tremendous amount more food that's accessible for people, making sure that there aren't food deserts, making sure that there are things, and these are the things that are implementable that have to be done very progressively, very with a good amount of thought, but more importantly, not a whole lot of new invention. It's again just tweaking the picture that we've been looking at and saying it can look different because we want it to be different. And so as we look at the food systems, I see just a tremendous explosion of urban agriculture all over the planet. Why? Because it's time. It can happen, it's happening. It's already squarely in place in certain regions, and it's scalable, replicable, and that's one of the things that are a component of a reutilization of resources that make more sense on this planet of ours. So that laboratory, that living laboratory is what this is all about, and please do come visit us out at the Great Park, or more importantly, the projects that you do have. We're excited to hear what you're up to and what you're doing, and it doesn't have to be about agriculture. It could be about all these other important parts of the puzzle that make a pretty good picture for us all. So thanks again, and appreciate the time.
My name is Kelly. I'm a sustainability assistant from Cal State Long Beach. And my name is Meg. I'm the other sustainability assistant from Cal State Long Beach.
And my name is Erlen Martinez. I am sustainability student assistant at Cal State Long Beach.
Sorry. Okay. Well, personally, I'm hoping that just us as a team from Cal State Long Beach will be able to collaborate with the other campuses that are here, and really get a good grasp on what their ideas are, what they're implementing on their own campuses, and bring that to our own. This is a really good collaborative environment, and I think we all have a lot to learn from each other. So that's what I hope to get out of CHESC. The keynote speaker, the former Secretary of Agriculture, was hitting on a lot of good points, and we hope to learn from their expertise as well as feed off one another.
Do you have any plans that you can, take it to the classroom and implement in the classroom as a pilot project or something?
I think one of the things that we are all working on together is we're in a zero waste working group on campus, and we're really trying to push that forward. So I think that is in the back of our minds as we're attending these classes and these seminars, how we're going to push this at Cal State Long Beach.
I think also something that I'm looking forward is to looking about cultural change along campus as well, and just seeing how learning from other campuses, how we can outreach to on our campuses about the importance of sustainability and behavioral changes, and educate. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Good luck on your journey.